What an amazing show. What a what an amazing show. Never to watch again. Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash, it's gonna say it like that. WrestleMania Backlash was just Monday Night Raw with lesser matches and lesser segments. And anything that doesn't feel like this is going to make you watch the show even more. I'm sorry, just Jesus Christ. And just to put it over straight, no one gave a damn about Ricochet versus Sheamus. He kept proclaiming over open matches, even though they're all regular matches. He never defended his title. And when he did, Humberto got hurt. So he opened. And because, like, a championship that main evented 2 years ago is now based on opening C-level pay-per-views, like WrestleMania Backlash. Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship was as basic as you can bring it up. You see spot after spot after spot. Neck breaker, there was a Shining Wizard. There was a few botches over involving Charlotte and Rhea Ripley because it didn't feel like they can gel. And we understand they're going to probably advertise this for Hell in a Cell. By the way, Hell in a Cell is going to be on in June this year. Pretty much. I don't know what to say. For a moonsault from the outside, a basic thing you always see in a multi-person match involving Charlotte Flair. And Rhea Ripley enters a riptide over Charlotte after Charlotte kicked Asuka right to her. And somehow Charlotte never had the chance. It's not like she got hurt or got injured anywhere. And yet she couldn't break the pin. Not like that matters, at least the match ends. And then we had Dominic and Ray against Robert Roode and Ziggler, the Steady Dogs, for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That's been poorly billed over just one half of them are feuding. So the other half gotta wrestle. Unbelievable. Storytelling. Like, no. Like, don't even form this as you're getting a title push because nepotism or anything. Or, like, no story built up. Dominic gets dropped and jumped from Ziggler and Rude earlier in a backstage segment, issuing a 2-on-1 disadvantage, but we know Dominic was going to come get to save and win the titles, so they had to make this as overly booked as ever than having Rude and Ziggler be that dominated and make this just a regular SmackDown tag team match. But Rey Mysterio did an average job, except that not the most cleanest sunset flip powerbomb when he does his regular baseball slide. Enziguri, I thought Rey Mysterio was handling himself for way too long over the match for Dominic to make a clear recovery. Then they could have just made it end with a hot tag, a few counters. Dominic ends up with the win, with saving over the 619 with the frog splash. Dominic and Ray become the tag team champions. This should have been a match at Mania if they were going to push this over. I don't really care. And then a backstage segment involving the goddamn Miz and Morrison fucking zombies came over from the lumberjack locker room. Yes, there's zombies conned into a WWE pay-per-view just for the shameless movie ad of Batista being in some dumbass Netflix original film called Army of the Dead. And this has been shamelessly plugged since the opening of the pay-per-view starting. I don't mind you advertising a movie. Don't make that be a run-over gag for a feud. You could have just made like a zombie come up in the locker room one time just to advertise the movie. And it was so garbage. This match was so garbage. Oh man. Like, corkscrew somersaults over the match and commentary is like, oh my god, we're back. Oh god, the zombies. Oh god, the zombies. No staff, no nothing. Evade, especially the camera guys. They didn't even do zoom out cameras because the camera guys were too scared to be around the zombies. They sold over the fact of nothing. Morrison even tries to parkour his way over the zombies and kicking them around, doing front sentons, and every zombie fall, even though they're undead and they can't feel it. And some of them don't even try to force them way into the ring, even though there's nothing literally stopping them. And Priest literally just fights them off anyway. Just a flurry of crappy kicks, and the commentary just comes back like, the zombies, the zombies. Oh my God, what an amazing match involving Priest and Miz. Jesus Christ! It ends with the crappy crossroads. The Miz gets piled up by literal zombies, even though kids already know that wrestling is fake, and they already have to see crappy zombies come over for a shameless plug for a guy that's not even going to be at the pay-per-view, and then you come over with Damian Priest doing some shitty arrow to be like, Army of the Dead live on Netflix. Oh God, that was bona fidely stupid. That was on some 2K20 bump of the night shit. And if you guys bought 2K20, I wait for that shit to be on sale until it could reach like even a fraction of what my brothers make at fucking McDonald's. Guys, this match was not worth it. And just be lucky that you say you don't want to watch WrestleMania Backlash. I'll just go over why you actually dodged the biggest bullet of your 3 hours of your time, so you could actually do something a bit more important. Even if people think like anything you're doing is not that important, at least you're not watching WrestleMania Backlash. Next up, we had Bayley versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and just having the continuity of a chick that already has been beaten by her twice on TV. How is she gonna be competently booked strong over a semblance of even having a level of this? Like, and it's so minimal if you'd like, there's just a shitty laughing, lack of heat, and she come over saying over the Thunderdome that the Thunderdome really expanded her character as being a heel. No, it hasn't. Saying Bianca, it says Belair, Bay loser, like poorly written in red over the back of her head. And every time it just keeps going over the back of the hair and the hair keeps coming up, it looks awful. Moonsault while holding the hair. Side headlock, a lot of chain wrestling. Taunting with the rookie sentiment. A counter off the elbow drop. Doesn't get the 3. Bailey to belly, even though it doesn't get the 3. Counter trying to use that dumb ground face buster thing. And then she counters over a roll up while using the hair. And such weak result, even though she's supposed to be sold as being the most physically impressive wrestler. So why is it difficult to beat her clean over using a weak roll up out of a star that's primarily used as a heelish joke in most of this feud? This match was just like a lack of ring work, like no psychology to get me invested into Bianca even trying to come back to even gain a victory, especially a clean one. At least you're trying to get some semblance of a star out of Bianca, but it's just Bayley. Really? Why couldn't she just have the rematch with Sasha Banks? Call it Backlash, and there barely any of these matches are even perceived rematches of matches that I guess people want to see. So why not just have the rematch? Sure, the match was shit at Mania, but I'm sure you can do it while the pressure's not that much over Bianca out of pushing the race card and the gender card to actually get these chicks over. And imagine how insulting that is for most people anyway. I never even put that much into perspective, but imagine it's not how you are as a person, as an athlete, or as a personality. It's just what you're born to look like. And I feel like that's the most pandering, insulting bullshit to ever happen in the world. So imagine if you're an athlete, you decided to transition into a chick or a dude, and the most they come over is not your talents. It comes over to being trans. and that's a primordial of your identity for over 20 years. Imagine how sad that has to be of your existence. Nobody knows who you are as a person, your personality, most of your skill, or what makes you iconic to begin with, other than your identity, and that's just insulting to me. Next up, we of course had and by the way, they had 6 matches in a 3-hour pay-per-view, trying to force over the hour mark. Many of these hour marks, with some of these matches dragging. SmackDown Tag Team Title match should have been like at least 7 minutes, especially with the whole cliche attack the person backstage, so the other person can't. So it could be a 2-on-1 situation, or a basic ass feud over a mild annoyance. Like this is universe mode shit to the nth degree. And then we had, of course, the most entertaining part of the match. I'm not gonna lie, this was better than the main event because it was just a fun factor of guys trying to beat the piss out of each other in a pretty good triple threat match. It was Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman for the WWE Championship, and a whole lot of heavyweights, a double vertical suplex off of McIntyre and Lashley holding over Strowman to see how long that lasted, like for nearly half a minute, was actually pretty impressive. A deep dive over to the outside, a running drop kick off Strowman, a lot of physically impressive moves. Strowman with a front senton, McIntyre tossed Lashley over to the Minitron near the entranceway, even though it looked like kind of looked like he kind of no sold that later over the night. I understand it caught people by surprise because we know Lashley was going to retain, but ah, really fun spots, really good counter over the Claymore kick into a power bomb over to the commentary table. A lot of cool, badass heavyweight moves, and Strowman, even though how much he's been directly booked terribly, great direction for him. Creative, fun, heavyweight moves, making these guys look like $1,000,000. Smartfully, they let Lashley retain in a pretty good triple threat match. I'm not gonna lie, this was the most entertaining match I've seen. And yeah, there's my only positive. 1 out of 5 matches actually made me more convinced to make the show keep going. They could have just made this an 8-match pay-per-view. What's wrong with that? They think less matches make them longer. That work? No, it doesn't. What's the structure here? You make WrestleMania have a total of fucking 20 matches on a 2-day event. Nobody asked for that much wrestling, and nobody asked for that shorter matches to have such long resolve. Like, you want me to watch Brian Kendrick and uh Greg Gregory Helms in an 11-minute match when there's 3 matches in the card? Like, nobody's gonna ask for that. You can say, oh, but it'll be an immense match. Like, no, nobody's gonna care. It should be a short spot fest. It gets physically impressive with telling a short amount of story over either both men trying to outdo each other. Fun match, get us behind, and we probably want to see it again, but with a different guy. That's practically all you need to sell over for a match. Then we have the main event. People say match of the year, match of the year. Let me tell you, it was inconsistent psychology. It was like a basic SmackDown match. They could have just spiced it up with Jimmy Uso intervening in the underhanded tactics Jey Uso did, and they barely even shown that over the night, other than Jay coming over with his name showing backstage for the next 5 minutes. This is supposed to be an early stint over for Cesaro to be built over as a star. But now that we understand, because it takes a lot of weirdos to understand that Cesaro isn't really that much of a star to begin with, that they're going to push over the factoid, that he deserves it all because he's a good wrestler. You guys are boring as shit. Like you guys are the type to feel like, oh, Dean Malenko deserves to win the United States title over people like Sting or something. Like, really? And it just comes over to the factor of there was cool moves. The coolest thing Cesaro did was a corkscrew plancha from the outside. That was technically it. There was a couple running uppercuts. Roman at least tried to make sure Cesaro gets a weakened arm to restrict the neutralizer and the sharpshooter and lesser holds, but that was the second half of the match where it was actually getting a bit interesting. The rest was just move, rest hold, side headlock. We were like 8 minutes in. If you're above 8 minutes into a match, never, unless you're selling a body part, ever go for a rest spot, doing an arm, doing a side headlock takedown. Like, nobody wants to wait for that. They're dragging over spots for for a match that should have been at least a basic 16 minutes. No one needs a 20-minute match every time in a main event, bro. Uh, Counter over the Superman punch after he was about to attempt another springboard uppercut. A counter over the sharpshooter. Cesaro's arm is getting weaker after he failed to even lock the sharpshooter and ended in a crossface because he only had one arm. And then Roman fought over it again. Then smoothly transition from a Samoan drop into a guillotine chokehold for the third time in the match. A whole lot of near false finishes over. Oh, is Ryan gonna tap? Roman's gonna tap. Roman's gonna tap. No, he's not gonna tap. Over a lower mid carder like Cesaro. Like, Cesaro, just go back to the mid card. Win the IC title. And people are gonna say you're a great jobber. I don't want to hear shit about you coming to the main event and you still don't add anything. Like, you were the sideshow, being the guy that was getting technically pushed. Like, people are more concerned over what's gonna happen with Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso than they're gonna ever do involving you pushed over to the main event scene, all because you deserve it. Like, he's boring, bro. Do not have this guy over on pay-per-view all because he's just happy to be there. He still comes over on Raw, talking smack, doing ROH promos, even though he's in his tenure in the WWE. You have learned so many languages, and still you're so disinteresting to have a conversation with. Imagine how bad that is. It's like, I know Swiss, German, Irish, and the hot chick just walks away. Like, that's how disinteresting Cesaro is. The match was just average until the second half, where they were finally trying to pick over some stuff and at least have some inept psychology. But they could have just spiced it over with some run-ins, or Roman getting a bit more desperate because Cesaro was fighting over the pain. And it was just an average. But this match could have felt like something they could have had on a SmackDown. That's how I felt. How I had this feel, and I guess it has practically anything to do with the title of the show acting retarded, the the dumbass zombie uh, clip that kept showing over on the Thunderdome TV behind the commentary, and probably certain parts of the Thunderdome looking so carny and shit, or like they forgot something. And like many other parts, a few parts of the Thunderdome were like that, selling over the effect of literally a film of a guy that doesn't even work for your company anymore. And it's just so crap. That really, like, probably whenever most people talk about SmackDown, I mean, WrestleMania Backlash, that's the most they bring over because they just took off anything from the two average matches we saw. And only one match actually kept my attention because how chaotic and cool and cool heavyweight stuff it did. Cesaro just made this feel more disinteresting than ever, other than he was just doing uppercuts for 70% of his arsenal and a drop kick. Like, come on. No. After the match, Jey Uso comes to celebrate with Roman. Jimmy Uso doesn't even come to tone any drama for a cliffhanger or at least something to get ready for SmackDown. All Rollins does instead of like coexist with Roman is, I guess, beat up Cesaro because he has unfinished business with him. And that's the show. And a sour note, with the heel winning. There's nothing wrong with this. But there's something wrong with the goddamn main event where it got me nothing behind Cesaro. Oh, but he wrestled a great match. Okay, then what did that do over to get me behind Cesaro? This made me not want to see him in another pay-per-view again. This made me feel like he's just going to have a random rematch on SmackDown soon. And selling over the factor that they just can't make these Ring of Honor jobbers pay-per-view main eventers. They did it with Daniel Bryan because they know that if they did Roman and Daniel Bryan, that would be in the mid-card. So Edge literally had to take over a back seat for Daniel Bryan booking. Kevin Owens, another Ring of Honor jobber, and he's barely main evented a pay-per-view involving Roman in a multi-month feud for the Universal title. Now, same thing with freaking Claudio Castagnoli coming around, getting pushed over to the card, and he barely even cinches up that much of a headline other than he had a great match that it only got interesting in the second half. Like, boring. This pay-per-view was boring with a short amount of matches, and all of them felt like they were 40 minutes. That's not how I should feel. You should have put the four-way match in the pay-per-view. You could have put the women's tag team BS in the show and made it 5 minutes. At least get some stuff to make sure that the pay-per-view sells that there's going to be something that I'm supposedly watching on TV. Then 6 title matches that were like over both like a total of like 100 something minutes long. Nobody wants to see that. Oh, it's just so garbage. And I think it's got nobody over in the success over a pay-per-view. And I have to wait for an October pay-per-view to be next month, and already a dying gimmick match like the Hell in a Cell, that nothing really felt Hell in a Cell since probably like Edge and Undertaker back in '08. And that just sounds sad to say. But that's practically all I got. Because the show is so goddamn boring. Thanks for watching. That's it for me. I'm just wildly disappointed.